So let us start with the first question, which is basically the pain point your research addresses, or in the new format, it's what is your research question?
The question for organizations is this: what are some of the ways that we can increase the effectiveness of the teams within an organization by looking at the way that teams are actually formed and come together to do work? You can ask me another question.
Okay, that's pretty crisp. Yeah. Do you want to have feedback on that, or do you want to just go straight through?
I think going through it once.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll listen to it, and then I think I need to tighten it and then go through it because I'm more than 4 minutes.
Okay. I would suggest probably just slow down the pace a little bit. Just a bit fast. Okay. So the second question is, why is your research relevant to business today?
Well, for example, let's imagine that you are a manager of a Fortune 1000 company and you're about to deploy a technology project. You have to figure out how to staff that project, and you have a number of alternatives in order to get your project staffed. The way that you staff a project, or the way the teams of people come together, can really have an impact on the effectiveness of your project, or it could even have an impact on the performance of the team, or go so far as to having an impact on attrition and job satisfaction. So this question is very important and could have long-term implications in an organization.
Okay. And what are your recommendations for business that you've learned from your research?
The recommendations are really twofold. First, to take a look at the variables around team interaction and to look at things like what we call psychological safety. Psychological safety is the ability for one to feel comfortable in an environment such that they feel as though their voice will be heard, they feel as though they can say what they feel in an open environment, and it often leads to increased productivity. So one recommendation would be to look for ways to increase psychological safety and look for ways to also monitor how teams are coming together. Teams may come together, for example, by being assigned to a project or to a piece of work, or they may come together organically. So really be observant and understand what is it that makes a particular team effective. For example, Google took a look at this 4 or 5 years ago. They wanted to understand why were teams performing some in a certain way and others not as effectively. And what it came down to was really what we mentioned, psychological safety. So those are two different ways that organizations can really get a better understanding of how team selection, how people come together in the formation of teams, can impact the effectiveness of the work that they do.
Okay, and how does your research contribute to making Hult the most relevant business school?
Well, our research has shown that employers are telling us that business school graduates are lacking several skills when they show up for the next job. They're really lacking the ability to adapt to changing situations. They're lacking the ability to build relationships with fine-tuned interpersonal skills, and they're really lacking the ability to drive for results through team collaboration and driving to those end results. Now, these are skills that can be developed, in fact, and at Hult, this is something that we really focus on in our master's program. We have a diverse student population, and we work on developing those skills that will help our students to be job ready day one.
Okay. Can I just go back and ask you the first question again? Could you just go through that? What is your research question, or what is the pain point of the research?
Yeah, because I really didn't talk about what I'm passionate about. So my research, I mean, this isn't really the research question. It's not the technical research question. It's the pain point that the research addresses. So it's not my technical research question.
Okay, sure.
So I kind of translated it for business.
I think that's okay.
So the question for organizations is, what are some of the ways that we can increase effectiveness in the teams in our workplace by looking at the ways that the teams are formed? And I'm very passionate in understanding what influences how people come together and the impact of leadership and how groups of people perform in the workplace. So my research looks at understanding how teams are selected in an organization and the impact of different variables on the overall effectiveness of the team. And there are different ways that teams can come together. They can be selected and assigned to a particular piece of work. They can assign themselves, so they're self-selected, or they may be randomly assigned. So my research looks at different ways of team selection to try to understand what in fact contributes to the effectiveness of the team based on how that team was actually selected.
Okay, cool. I'll just stop the recording there.